Gale Halverson, also known as the Candy Bomber, is one of the last survivors of his generation, from an era of greatness and tragedy. But before he became the Candy Bomber, he grew up in an era known as the Great Depression in Utah. One day, while working on the farm, he heard a buzzing overhead and looked up to see a biplane, which inspired him to reach for the sky. After graduating high school, Gale received his pilot license and an advanced degree in aeronautical engineering from right here in Utah State University. Devastation hit when Pearl Harbor was attacked. Gale wanted to help, so he decided to sign up for the Army Air Corps, where he learned to fly fighter planes. He was later reassigned to be a cargo pilot for the rest of the war. At the end of the war, he continued his flying as part of Operation Vittles, supplying East Germany with needed supplies after the Soviet Union put up the Berlin Wall. On one flight, he noticed a bunch of children gathered at the barbed wire fence, watching the planes fly overhead. After he landed, he made his way to the fence and spoke to the children who were starving from the Soviet Union occupation. All the children wanted was American freedom. When he was called back to base, he took a few steps. He realized he couldn't give these children freedom, but he could give them hope. He stopped and pulled 2 pieces of gum from his pocket and handed it to the children through the barbed wire fence, with the promise of dropping more from his plane the next day. The children asked how would they know which plane was his. He told them to watch for the plane that wiggled its wings on the approach, so that they would know which plane was his. After getting back to base, he convinced his crewmates to gather their candy rations for this candy drop. After they all had collected their candy, Gale noticed how heavy the candy was. He didn't want to injure anybody on the ground, so he devised a makeshift parachute for each package. The next day, the crew hopped into their plane with their candy packages. Once they made it to the approach course to the runway, Gale wiggled his wings, and him and his co-pilot dropped the candy packages out of the window for the children below. Gale and his crew saw the children smiling and sharing the candy between themselves. The first candy drop was a success. After landing, he was later called into his commanding officer's office to address questions after someone reported seeing him drop things from his plane, and he had to explain what he was doing. The commanding officer did not stop them, and the event grew rapidly as a symbol of hope and a way for everybody to help East Berlin when they needed it most. Handkerchiefs and candy came streaming in from all over the US and many other nations. The Candy Bomber went down in history for bringing thousands of smiles to children's faces. Why? All because of 2 sticks of gum. Nicknames such as the Candy Bomber, Chocolate Flyer, Uncle Wiggly Wings became renowned in the US and across Germany. But the story does not end there. He has always been known to be a hard-working and family-oriented man. To this day, he still promotes his legacy of hard work, family, and candy by sharing his experience all across the world. He continued to work for the Air Force as an Air Force representative, here in the US and in Germany. When time allows, he loves to join reenactments of the famous candy drop in places all over the world. He does this to inspire people to remember what a few pieces of candy meant to the people living on the other side of the Berlin Wall. Most notably of the reenactments was the 50th anniversary of the start of the Berlin Airlift. Here's a short clip. In 1998, at the age of 78, Gale co-piloted a C-54E cargo plane, the same model of the plane that was used in the original airlift. He did this alongside Tim Chop during a 7-day reunion trip to Europe and specifically to Berlin. He officially retired with more than 8,000 flight hours in 15 different aircraft and 31 years of service. But his service has not ended there, and his kind act continues to inspire and uplift others. From his simple dream to become a pilot and 2 skinny pieces of gum, Gale lived a full and charitable life. He couldn't have said it better himself.
The little decisions you make in your life put your footsteps on where you end up, for good or bad. I just got the prompt, hey, go back to the fence, stupid. Changed my life. Changed the life of my family. Right? The little decisions you make